Welcome back. Thursday, 6th of March already. Crikey. And we didn't manage to get a brew going this week. Yesterday, one of our neighbours from literally just down the canal, a little venue and bar called Dorothy Pax. People in Sheffield will no doubt know of the Dorothy Pax. Hopefully other people will have heard of the Dorothy Pax as well. I suppose the term we would use is an intimate little venue, probably about half the size of the boathouse here. They posted on Facebook yesterday saying they were closing with immediate effect. Now, for a lot of us, that wasn't necessarily a huge surprise. Some of us were wondering how they managed, in the face of all adversity, to keep going for as long as they have. They faced a number of challenges. Fair to say some of them were self-inflicted. However, others were not. And they've always managed to pull through. But apparently not this time. Their brief history was they were open for 8 years. And during that 8 years, they almost annually had rather negative dealings with the Canal and River Trust, who were not particularly helpful. True to say, the Pax didn't always help, but a small little music venue up against a great big sort of £1 billion corporation, which is what the Canal and River Trust are. They're a corporation. Then they call themselves a charity, but they're a corporation. So they didn't really stand much of a chance. The problems were multifarious, and I think really started to come to a head during COVID. Obviously, venues were shut. Venues were unable to operate during COVID. Just coming out of COVID, fortunately, an Arts Council grant managed to save them, and they've continued ever since, and they've a good track record. Their heritage in terms of promoting grassroots music, live music, is unchallenged, unlike another Sheffield venue which always claims to be the home of grassroots music and the home of Sheffield music, which actually is just a bit of a scam. If people knew, I'm sure they wouldn't give that venue the support which the Dorothy Pax actually deserves. So realistically, people aren't going out like they used to. People can't afford, they don't have the disposable income that they used to. And grassroots music doesn't get the support that we would like to think it deserves. That's it's not particularly just this country, it's a global issue. Add to that catastrophic influences such as Russia invading Ukraine, and it's important to be clear about that. Russia were the aggressor. Russia invaded and unprovoked invaded Ukraine. As a consequence, all of our fuel bills went through the roof, price of some foods went through the roof. So people got out of the habit of going out during COVID, and then they're financially suffering, some people not knowing whether or not they're going to be able to afford the mortgage next month, with interest rates as volatile as they've been probably for 25, 30 years. And add to that the larger music venues, such as the Co-op in Manchester, etc., hosting extortionate acts. So thinking immediately Taylor Swift, but more so Oasis, the Oasis reunion bank balance boosting tour, where just looking around, if you want tickets for that, you're looking somewhere between £600 and £800. Well, people might want to go and see that, but that's at the cost of going to see probably 15, 16 major bands in places like Sheffield City Hall or the Don Valley Arena. And then, even those at £50, they're expensive. What about a fiver for a local band? Fiver for a ticket for a local band? People will say, no, I won't pay that because I want to go and see Oasis. So again, corporate greed obviously comes into it, and the lack of support really for grassroots music and smaller venues just isn't there. It's not there. And some will say of the Dorothy Pax, yes, if it was bigger, it might have survived better. Maybe, we'll never know. There's another venue in Sheffield, claims to be a victim, well-known venue, but they're paying people to support them. And it's a bit of a scam. If people really knew what was going on with that venue, they certainly really wouldn't support it. Whereas places like Dorothy Pax really need the support. They will get limited support, but they haven't got the name as this other venue has. I'm not going to mention the other venue, mainly because the owner's a bit litigious. I can tell you what I think about him. So anyway, yes, poor old Dorothy Pax. This is one of their t-shirts. This is another of their t-shirts from a free festival that they promoted. Unfortunately, the weather wasn't on their side, so they lost quite significantly. But this was Pax in the Park. And another of their t-shirts. This is probably my favourite. But you'll get the kind of idea of where they're coming from, where they were coming from. They were always welcoming, open, very, very, very much a safe space. They were a safe space for LGBT, a safe space for people with mental health issues, and generally created a very nice, relaxed environment, especially when they had their tables and chairs outside during the summer. It was a perfect place to go for a pint of an afternoon. Unfortunately, more recently they were told they had to remove their tables and chairs, so their payment license, etc., was one of the big earners for them. Everything really collided to make continuing to trade more difficult. Back to my own t-shirt. So people have asked, have I been tempted to try and pick up where they left off? Because I've got a nice venue, we've got sound, lighting, etc. The answer is no. That's not what I'm into. Being a music venue is hard work. It's something that suits a certain type of person. And while I'm not ruling it out in the longer term, in the immediate term, it would be impractical anyway. I think we're going to be opening weekends, so Friday, Saturday, Sunday afternoon type thing. Purely logistically, this place is not going to work as a venue, as we were unable to build the brewery building outside, and with the little shed that we're building for storage and the cellar won't give us the opportunity to move the brewing operation out there. So on a Monday, after opening at the weekend, we're clear up in here. On a Monday, we wheel this out of the store into here, do the electrical safety checks, start filling with the reverse osmosis water, and get everything ready for doing a brew on the Tuesday. And then on the Wednesday, we might do a second brew, or probably that might be too much. So on the Wednesday, we do the final clear down, check all the measurements, clean all the tools, as it were, and then wheel this all back into there. Thursday, sit down, have a cup of tea. Friday, get ready to open again. So logistically, we don't have the ability to run this as a venue. And I'd feel a little bit mercenary. And I know friends have said, well, yeah, they're out of business now. You didn't cause that. Why don't you pick it up? It does feel a bit mercenary. And it's not what I do. A part of what we're geared up for here is as a social club, as a support network, and then during the week as a brewery. So we won't. So yeah, terribly, terribly sad that the Dorothy Pax, and those who followed this channel for some time, you remember this that I always used to start off with. Well, that's the DP bit up there, and I stopped putting that at the beginning, mainly because it was after CBC, Cambridge Brewing Company, Will Mayers, over in Boston, Massachusetts, shut down. And I just thought, oh, I don't know, feel a bit uncomfortable doing that. I didn't want to really be bad luck. So, you know, again, Dorothy Pax going, let's just hope none of these others do as well. It is sad, but I would probably want to finish on remembering that there were some very, very positive outcomes from their existence, not least a couple of festivals, but also bringing life into what was, and people won't remember, but Victoria Keys was a bit of a shithole, and nothing really happened down there. There was a trip boat that used to run, well, it still does, run parties out of there, but they didn't really bring people into anything in Victoria Keys. So the Dorothy Pax really rejuvenated a really grim and shitty area, especially when they somewhat illegally took over the roof space over the top of the arches, because that was just dangerous. There was needles, syringes, broken glass. It was fairly foul. And when they did take it over and put their tables and chairs upstairs and had a few events up there, it was clean, it was well managed, well organised, but they didn't have permission to do so. So again, that was one of those things that perhaps they themselves could have handled that a bit differently. But it's all water under a bridge now, if you'll excuse the pun. So yeah, bit of a long video, sorry about that, but it is a shame to see the back of the Dorothy Pax. It's where we got our tables from, in a very roundabout sort of way. We've only got 5 now. We did have 10, long story. But yeah, so join me, if you will. I haven't got one here, but I will do. Join me in raising a glass of something nice to the memory of the Dorothy Pax. Cheers.